All right, all right. What's good, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Gifted Hoops podcast. Ironically enough, Derek, this technically speaking, classifies as the what is it? Technically, this is like my 83rd episode, but because we haven't done the pod officially in such a long time, I made the decision to just remove everything. So I'm just gonna count this as like the fake episode one of the pod. So we are in the building. Let's act as if we've never done this before. This is
Okay.
normally a series I do where we cover all things NBA, specifically in the off season. I think over the past two off seasons, what I've tried to do is like do a episode about all 30 teams where I find someone that covers a specific team that knows more about the day to day than I do. And we have a conversation about how the season went, how the upcoming season will go, some moves and shifts that have taken place, and just, the current status of the team. So that's the brief synopsis. Also, I do have a new podcast distribution manager for this, so it should be a lot more consistent on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, but this is the first one. Also, I'm making this shift as well, Derek. We're doing these things live now, so all the mistakes, all the slip-ups, that is going to have to be recorded, and we will be aggregating some of this content into some other long-form videos. But Derek is someone I want to introduce for those of you who might not know. Derek is a frequent collaborator of mine on the YouTube side of things, and we love to discuss everything basketball all the way throughout the season. We actually spent a lot of time together, and I've never met Derek in real life yet, so that's cool. But I'm yapping. Derek, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Thank you. Yeah, frequent collaborator for sure. And it's starting new is pretty valid. It's been a while since I've posted any like actual recorded content that's not a collaboration with you or another creator. So it's like it's an episode one for me too. But it's always good to just talk shop, talk hoops. And man, like there's just never been a more exciting time for Philadelphia Sixers hoops. And I feel like, obviously you've got the LeBron contingent that's now joining the fandom, for however long he's here. So it's just a lot more eyes on this team, man. And I hope, the new eyes and ears are interested in Sixers hoops, not just Bron hoops. Because this is a fun team. And we'll definitely get into why this should be one of the funnest teams to watch in the entire sport.
Yes, and I do want to actively say we will be connecting with people in the chat every now and then. It's different doing this live because this isn't just recorded pieces of content. So like we will be able to see chats here or there, but we do want to have a pretty organized conversation of things. Again, have some grace. I'm getting back into the full swing of things, but I think, Derek, to your point, I'm excited for the pod today because there's been a lot of conversation about the team before the big move that we're going to get to, of course. So I am interested to talk all things Philadelphia 76ers. I want to start with, I guess, the Philadelphia mentality. And what I mean by that is like, before getting to anything that's happened in the season and the trades and all that stuff, I really feel like this is a very important inflection point for Philadelphia sports in general, but specifically the 76ers. You have been a longtime fan. How has the journey been to get to this point is where I want to start.
In a word, exhausting. I say this all the time. Philadelphia is not a basketball town. And, there is a big, I want to say there's a big fan following. Like there are some diehard cultists even as far as Sixers basketball is concerned. But for Philadelphia as a whole, it is very much Eagles, go Birds every day of the week. 24/7, and it'll always be a football town first and foremost, and then really after that it's a baseball town. Philadelphia Phillies, as well as they're currently kind of slumping, those two teams really dominate the market here, radio, podcast, etc. And a lot of the voices that many outsiders might know of Philadelphia cover those teams first and then hear those opinion pieces about the Sixers from people who really don't follow basketball that consistently or with the same vigor they do with the other sports. So I think people often get a bad picture of Philadelphia sports fans because they know of everything else that we have this reputation of, and I really don't think it bleeds into Sixers fans, bleeds into the fandom as much as people think, compared to like our Eagles fandom, our Phillies fandom, even our Flyers, our hockey teams fandom. So I think for one, it's like trying to like rep the fandom well has been an uphill battle more than anything, and then obviously the on-court product has been, I mean, inconsistent is the word. Like it has been so many different eras and versions you've seen of this team. Hundreds of players have come through just in the past decade, which is not really that typical of most franchises. So it's difficult to like kind of put, like a cap on it. I think there's been so many like versions of this team just in the past few years. So it's weird, man. It's weird. This is the first time I feel like everyone's actually tuning in and has to like take a second glance at the roster. And people are forced to give it more attention because of the names that are here now.
Yeah. It's funny because with I think the 76ers, they've gone through such a process, no pun intended, of course, but like it's been a lot because
for it.
You draft Joel Embiid, he gets hurt early on. You draft Ben Simmons, he gets hurt. You draft Markelle Fultz, unfortunately, he goes through a like literal career-changing injury again. And then you have a process where it's like, okay, we have Ben Simmons, we have Joel Embiid, let's see what we can do. And I remember vividly like how fast things go, because there's a point where it was like, let's build with Ben Simmons. Like that was the goal of the team. And like you got Al Horford, who was at the time known to be the only person in the East who could actually stop a Joel Embiid. So now it's like, okay. And then that didn't pan out. And you keep on going. And then now it's like, this is the full Joel Embiid team. Oh, wait, we drafted Tyrese Maxey. Now he's going to be the guy. And it's crazy because the stuff that Tyrese Maxey has had to adjust to every single season, like it really feels like he's at the heartbeat of what this franchise is. And then all that being said, that takes us to this upcoming season where now it's like you had Paul George on your team that played his best playoffs, I think, as a Sixer, right? Like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
His best series by far.
Yeah. And then you trade him for Jaylen Brown, which is just like, how do you even process that?
Yeah, I mean, processing is definitely the word for it. I mean, I guess quickly to the Maxey point, Maxey was drafted with the idea of, just being that new guard that Embiid can play off of. And he was later dubbed the franchise. For so many reasons, I'm wearing a Maxey jersey as we speak. Today is full fandom. Maxey is just so easy to love, despite what many Philly fans will tell you. He's been definitely the heart and soul of this team very quickly. Just he takes every challenge head on and plays his heart out. And then, of course, his availability is a big reason why Philadelphia fans love him. For the most part, I think a big thing with Philadelphia, speaking back to that culture thing, if you play hard and, whether you're playing through injury or not, if you're just giving that effort on a constant basis and a ride or die, that's all we want. It will make losing so much easier to Philadelphia fans if you just try. If it looks like you're laying it out there, regardless of sport, we'll love you. That's it. That's why like Terrell Owens still has like a cult following here. He was here for a season and a half and is still like a premier beloved icon for many in the city. Because he worked his tail off. He played with a broken leg in the Super Bowl. And
crazy.
Every sport, like hockey, very much included, Phillies, and Sixers. It's just like, I think the big reason why Embiid's not beloved by so many is because he's injured so much that people think he's not trying, which is just such a horrendous narrative. But in any case, Maxey, of course, being available, is a big reason why, we love him. And then, going back to the Jaylen Brown thing, so processing that, I think a lot of people really didn't believe Jaylen Brown was a possibility for Philadelphia because we weren't like likely suitors at the time, but it made a lot of sense for both Philly and for Boston. I think Boston, not to dive into the Celtics too much, I think did a smart move in retooling. Obviously, they gave up the better player, but Jaylen Brown being a shorter contract, you're recouping some draft assets. Paul George, like you just said, is coming off his best playoff series in at least a few years. He's not going to be awful. He fits their system, I think, quite well. So you're still going to be like giving yourself a fighting chance this playoffs, or at least this season. And it gives Boston the opportunity to retool around Tatum and moving and like go forward with an actual plan. I know they weren't really committed to JB long term. That relationship also soured. So I think it just made a lot of sense for every party involved. So once we got JB, I'm like, wow, okay, this is definitely a step. Like, this is clearly the chips are being pushed in for Philadelphia. They said, okay, this Embiid window is still a thing. We're not moving him, because if you had like, you wouldn't get JB if you're moving Embiid. You said, look, we got 3 years left on Embiid's contract, this enormous thing that it is. When he plays, he's really good. We have a chance. We just beat Boston in the playoffs this past season. So, like, if you give yourself a chance, it's worth a gamble. So just that team alone, Maxey, Edgecombe, Brown, Embiid, Dean Wade, of course, was the recent signing before LeBron, who we'll get to. That team by itself is an Eastern Conference contender. It's probably not a finals favorite by any means, but a contender. And I think that made a lot of sense as far as like where you're at. It's like, okay, we're just going to, ride or die here. Like, if this doesn't pan out, JB and Embiid might not be here long term. You've got Maxey and Edgecombe. We'll figure it out there. But this is our best chance this season. And I understood the gamble. I think it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about in terms of the basketball X's and O's. And trust me, this is a basketball podcast. Me and Derek are fans of the sport. Like, we're not like casual perspectives where it's like just grit, grind, will to win. Like, that stuff is cool, but like the actual basketball of it is the intriguing part that we're gonna get to in a minute here. But for me, at least, trading Jaylen Brown for Paul George was not in my bingo card for 2026. I didn't see that like coming. In hindsight, it does make sense for Boston to retool, but I think it also just speaks larger to where the CBA is and how terrified teams are of going over these aprons and just how hard it was. Like, I said it when they paid him, like, it's very difficult to construct a roster that can win next to two players that are making supermax contract and eating up 30+% of your cap. And I feel like at a certain point, one of those two would have to split to make it make sense. And they won a title, which is good for them. But I think a huge part of why they can move off of them is because they did win. You know what I'm saying? So that's a part of it. But to flip it for Paul George, I think most of the criticism from the trade comes from the side that feels like you could have got Giannis, or like you could have possibly traded higher for Jaylen Brown. And I think what I would say back to that is, while that could have been true, we still don't know the ins and outs of like what specifically went down in those deals for them to not really get Giannis. Like, most of this stuff is rumored and kind of like out of context, aggregated. What I can tell you for sure for the Sixers is, why not? Like, why not do this? Like Paul George, as good of a player as he is, just has not been available. Now, granted, I do think last year he could have been more available had he not got caught with the drug, stuff. But outside of that, it's like he was very much a contract that the league didn't really look for as a positive. It wasn't deemed as like a positive contract for the Sixers. It was more so like, okay, you're gonna be trapped with this contract, and you're able to flip that for a younger player who is a better regular season player at the very least. Now, in my opinion, I will say this. To me, Paul George did kind of outplay Jaylen Brown in a good chunk of the Sixers series, like, sure, but the role is also scaled down significantly to Jaylen Brown. So that's also fair to say. I think just doing that move alone, to your point, Derek, makes this team a legitimate team out east. You can argue if they would be top 4, top 5, whatever, but they're very much a playoff team that has a real chance at things in the Eastern Conference. But LeBron James signing to the 76ers. If you didn't see Jaylen Brown coming, I know for a fact LeBron, and it feels funny because it was thrown out there in our faces like they were rumored, but it was such a media circus about where LeBron was going. It was hard to know what was real and what wasn't. But now it's very real.
Yeah, I mean, like, where did we begin? The LeBron saga is something that Philadelphians have experienced before, basically over 10 years ago now. Before he goes to LA, there were some pretty legitimate rumors of, he was looking at schools here in Philadelphia, looking at places for his family, like really trying to see if this was a feasible landing spot. Of course, it didn't work out. He goes to LA, has quite the career, just in a Lakers uniform there. And so this time around, I thought for sure, like, it would be more of a basketball decision, quote unquote ring chasing, wherever he went, but it would be a place of more calm, I thought, is what he was seeking, while just being a good basketball team. And so your team, the Golden State Warriors, I think made a lot of sense as far as teaming up with Steph, the Olympics experience. Obviously, the narrative, I think, of, those two have gone to war against each other for so long, to be able to team up both in the twilight of their careers, that made just, great story right there. So I was like, okay, this has a real chance. Obviously, the return possibilities of Miami or Cleveland, both teams not bad in their own right. Cleveland having basically 4 all-star caliber players that desperately needs that, final piece, that wing that could tie it all together. LeBron made perfect sense. And then obviously Giannis in Miami, Giannis, LeBron, and Bam. Like, whatever you think, that would be a terror on the league. So there were a lot of like great choices. I always thought Philadelphia made a ton of basketball sense, but I didn't believe in our pitch being good enough. All the things that have been said about this team, whether it's choke artist and Beach is not available, people, distrusting Nick Nurse, like the myriad of things that you could say about this team. But overall, the new president of basketball operations, Mike Gainsey, having connection to LeBron, obviously Bob Myers' influence, and Clutch, man, just having their hands in everything around the league. The relationship with Tyrese Maxey that LeBron has, including the Olympic experience with Joel Embiid. I think that was just a great pitch that I underestimated that the Sixers had. And I think LeBron really did make a decision based around basketball and comfort, like I thought. I just didn't think it'd be Philadelphia.
Yeah, and I think further speaking to the basketball part of it, the way that I view LeBron's choice, obviously I'm a Warriors fan. I looked at it and I'm like, okay, Draymond opting out, he's clutch. He's also like the number one LeBron rider in the league, probably. It looked like that could happen. But then the more I thought about it, it's like, front office wise, Golden State just hasn't really made great moves to put talent around Steph, and they would be the oldest team in the league. Jimmy Butler is not there. They also said earlier on LeBron wanted to go to the Warriors if they got Anthony Davis, but the Warriors definitely weren't going to trade for Anthony Davis. So I kind of like soured on that happening. In my opinion, basketball wise, under the concept that like LeBron will take less money, I really felt like the Sixers were there, but I was confused about like the wonkiness of the fit, because the thing that killed me is during the regular season, the sound bites from LeBron sounded like he didn't want to play the third option role next to Luka and Austin Reeves. Like, it felt like he said, I have more to give to the game than people think. I have more in the tank. So I feel like he maybe wanted a bit more responsibility than just be in the corner sometimes or play off the ball more. So I just thought it was too many cooks in the kitchen to make sense in Philadelphia. So that's why I ruled him out. I personally thought, in chat, y'all can let me know if you agree or disagree, but I personally thought the best 2 teams would be the Sixers or the Wolves. And I said, sorry, the Wolves, sorry about that, the Wolves and the Spurs. And I felt the way because like they're 2 teams that have a hole at the 4 position. He brings a sense of adultness into the room. They're both younger teams, and they also have like superstar-esque players in Anthony Edwards and also Wemby, who for the most part play. Granted, it's a a early sample. I think with Victor, we don't know exactly how that'll look, but you would be going to powerhouse teams in a sense. I think with Minnesota, it made a lot of sense because they literally like needed size. And if you upgrade from Julius Randle to LeBron James, and you have 3-point shooting on that roster, and you have a real center who can play defense, like I thought, okay, cool. That's a good spot. And they actually need you to be like a true decision maker down the stretch. I like that team. I think for the Spurs, it's like you literally choked in the finals because your decision making down the stretch was an issue. And then LeBron wouldn't have to do much in terms of like having to floor raise throughout a entire 82 games because they're just so talented. And you get to play with the guy who could be the next GOAT. Like that's also a really good thing. You know what I'm saying? So I thought those two teams would have made more sense. But when you think about it, Philadelphia was actively courting LeBron. I don't think these two teams were actively doing that. I think Minnesota was trying to, but at the end of the day, this is LeBron James. I don't think LeBron wants to go to a small market team. And unfortunately, Minnesota is a small market team. And what I forgot also is like LeBron has had battles with the Spurs, and I just don't think he wants to like donate to that organization. And also there is a sense of like, Wemby could be the goal in the future. So, like, do I want a part of my legacy to be aiding him to win? Probably not. So, if you think about it, the Sixers make sense because I really underestimated the market. Philly is not a small market team. Now, have they operated as if they are one because it hasn't really been a big free agency splash for them in a long time? Sure. But the fans are very loud. Basketball is a big thing when they're good. I mean, I still got chills from watching the Jimmy Butler era because they were a serious team for that year. It was a crazy year. You feel what I'm saying? So LeBron going there actually makes more sense. And also there's more ties, as you said, with that team than any of the other teams. So it made sense. And also talent-wise, and this is the biggest thing that I really did not think of, Derek, the Sixers made a concerted effort to getting more talent actively in this offseason than any of the other teams available, and they have the market. So all of the check boxes make sense as to why LeBron will go there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is what's been so exciting about this team. It's obviously LeBron, Jaylen Brown. That starting five, just name value is incredible. I mean, Gifted, this is by far the deepest team the Sixers have had in the entire Joel Embiid era. I mean, you can go back another 10, 15 years if you want to extend to like the Iverson days. Like, that's what I mean. This is the most talent-rich team since the 83 championship team, which of course is the last time my roster's been able to, or my franchise has been able to hold up a trophy. You know, a rookie, an exciting rookie in Phylon off the bench, Anthony Simons as well, being a bit of a combo guard. We already talked about Dean Wade, who I said was an A signing off the bench, like I think a C plus starter. So the fact that now he gets to move to, essentially a 6-man role, is very exciting. Justin Edwards, Adem Bona, Dom Barlow are like very exciting pieces that obviously are going to have to grind to get the minutes this year, but that's a good thing. Like, I think that's healthy competition, healthy depth. We know guys are going to be in and out, and it's so important to have like those stagger opportunities. So I think that's really exciting. Of course, the KCP signing as well. There will have to be a few cuts before that's official, including him and Braun. But again, another vet who, like, worst case scenario, he really just never sees the floor. Like, he might be washed. He's coming off his worst season really as a pro. It's fine. You know what? That's fine. If you're here just to be like, possibly better Eric Gordon, that's okay. Because we already have 10 guys in front of you that I want to see the floor. So KCP, whatever you got, I'm happy with. Just be a good vet for all these guys, a good teammate. We're straight. Nothing more is needed. If you can shoot, sweet. Would love to have it. But yeah, this team, just great depth. And just, yeah, man, there's just a lot of like great fit, like just basketball fit, which I guess is where we can get to next. The amount of opportunities and ways that like this team can play is really exciting. We can play fast. We have the athletes, but we can be an excellent half court offense. And the most exciting thing I'm really looking to see is Tyrese Maxey being more off the ball. And I really think that jump shot and him as like an offensive weapon is going to really come back. I think him having to take on that mileage and usage the past couple of years, being the on-ball creator, I think really soured Tyrese in a lot of like respects to like the outside fandom on like, oh, he's really not that good of a shooter, or his ISO game is terrible. And it's like he's really creating with very little around him for much of last season. Joel,
Right.
obviously, sub 40 games, PG with the performance enhancers, unfortunately, with that suspension. So it was really him and a rookie kind of running the show. That doesn't bode well for late game offense, even if I wish Nurse didn't call so many ISOs. In a lot of respects, it's just put the ball in your best player's hand and hope for the best. Not a great way to win a lot of games against good NBA teams. So I think it made Maxey look worse than he really is. I think LeBron being able to create with this kind of offensive talent around him, I mean, man, it could be special.
Yeah, no, no. So now we get to have the basketball conversation about it all, right? So, I do want to say, for me personally, this has to be the most amount of talent the Sixers have had from a 1 through 5 standpoint in their starting five for a very long time. Like they just have a lot of different options. For me personally, what I think matters the most in making this work, the 3-point volume is going to have to go up. I think specifically the shot diet of all 5 of these guys is going to have to go up in terms of catch and shoot opportunities. I think above the break shooting, I'm curious to see the growth of I would say VJ Edgecombe. VJ had a spectacular rookie season. I think he's already really above track than a lot of other players. And I think his shot quality should go up a lot more on this type of team because there's just so many talented guys. But the really cool part, as you said, like you can play different ways. I mean, dude, Tyrese Maxey, I've been a fan of. I told you this last year. I feel like he was all NBA caliber. And a lot of it was he had to put the team on his back on the ball. And I've always felt like he might not be the best advantage creator at times, but he's a fantastic play finisher type always. And he's a real shooter. Like, I think he doesn't get enough credit for how many styles he's had to grow. Like, he had to learn how to play with Ben Simmons, how to play with Harden, how to play without Harden, how to play with and without their best player consistently. And now he is a guy that I very much feel like can scale down or up whenever the team needs him. And granted, that has affected his percentages at times because of how often the role has changed. But I think on a team like this, I mean, you can run LeBron and Tyrese Maxey led lineups where like LeBron is more so the point guard, and then you have Tyrese basically catching multiple defenders, off the ball, or the 2-man game where like you can run a lot of cool things. I would say similar to like the LeBron Kyle Korver sets, right? Like there's a lot of cool things you can do with that. So I like that perspective of it. I'm just curious about how VJ and Jaylen Brown specifically are going to fit into these things. I think there's a couple of questions I have for like how the 5-man unit is going to work out consistently offensively. The defense we'll get into very, very soon here, but that's something that really intrigues me.
Yeah, I mean, I think like it's not a stretch at all to say that this is obviously a much older LeBron, but could be very similar to a LeBron Kyrie situation as far as like the combination, how they would work. Maxey and Kyrie, I think, share plenty of similarities as far as like their qualities as offensive players. So
Yeah.
the creation between those two, I think, could be fantastic. And then I think what would help, with older LeBron is that on the court, there should be reliable offensive creators outside of those two. And then if it's not pure creation, then it should be capable shooting. Because again, like Dean Wade off the bench, I think is, very much like a stretch forward that gives Maxey and LeBron someone to throw to. Bona, who's probably going to see a decent amount of minutes, is a lob threat, if nothing else. So, I think there's definitely things to play with. I think the question marks, obviously, before the LeBron situation, it was Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's obviously coming off his biggest season as a pro, certainly the most shots he's ever had in his career. I think 21
Highest
a game.
usage, right?
Yeah, highest usage. Like, so it's a different role that he has to adjust to because even if he ends up being the leading shot taker on this team, which is totally possible, it's definitely going to be more spaced out. It's definitely going to have to, be a bigger, lion share. But I think that's very doable, and I think everyone here kind of understands, like, you're playing for more legacy stuff.
Yeah.
Individual accomplishments are going to be taking a bit of a backseat. And I think it's just, any particular night someone can go off and eat, because I think that's just like the kind of team you have around them. But I'm really not like too concerned. It's just a matter of like understanding hierarchy, and really it comes down to, the Joel Embiid thing.
Right.
When he's on the court, can this offense, can Nurse and company please put Embiid 75% of the time at the key or the elbows? That is where I think he is going to be best operating. It is letting
Okay.
his footwork closer to the paint be successful. His playmaking is going to be at its most comfortable, closer to the basket, but allowing him to just throw those little dump offs or spray to the corners. But also, like, just having his body be more of a screen, not actually setting the screen itself. Like having a JB, VJ, Maxi just run Iverson sets and Iverson curls into action, into space, and I think they're going to be extremely comfortable. And then obviously Bron really can play off of like any play style. I'm sure that sounds like Glaze, but we understand like he's comfortable with the ball virtually anywhere in the court.
Right.
But I think that's where Embiid needs to be. And then obviously when Embiid's off the court, whether he's injured or just sitting, I think that's when the team has to play with more pace. Lean into that athleticism. So you can go small with, a Barlow at the 5, possibly for minutes. Bona obviously is your backup 5. And just, get out and run, get out in space, and just let, the transition dominate.
Yeah. The other aspect of the LeBron signing that I feel like people aren't talking about as much, and I'm such a nerd with this type of stuff too. I will be honest about it. What I often look at when teams sign a new player is not primarily the lineup they're going to be in starter wise. I think of what's that second unit look like. And let me tell you something, regardless of how you feel about how the 5 will fit and play together, obviously that matters the most, sure. But the staggers for Philadelphia are going to be insane. And that's why I love it, because it's like you have so much talent and so many guys that can, technically speaking, initiate offense. You don't have to overtax guys offensively as much. Like, this should not be a high usage season for Joel Embiid as it's been in the past, right? Like, this shouldn't be a high, like, every possession Tyrese Maxey has to have the ball in his hands to really make offense. Like, now you have different archetypes. Like, dude, LeBron and Tyrese Maxey lineups are going to be fun. I think Joel Embiid, Jaylen Brown lineups also could be fun. I think VJ, like, there's just different things you can do and fit other players into it. And I like the overall potential of that. And obviously the biggest question mark on this team is, are they going to be healthy? Well, a huge part of being healthy is not having a heavy load to impact more possessions where you could get hurt. That's just what it is, right? And I think they have the talent enough to really have different things to go to. But I think we spent a lot of time talking about offense. I think it's time to talk about defense. Now, yeah. I'm not gonna hold you, Derek. This is gonna be, to me, the defining point of this team defensively, because I think this team, on paper, talent-wise, could probably be like a top 10 offense. Is that crazy to say?
No, not at all.
I think that's fair to say, right?
My expectation is top 10.
Okay, yeah. So yeah. Defensively, here's what I'll say, right? To me, if you watched last year, VJ Edgecombe had a lot of moments where he was just a lockdown defender at times. He was a rookie player, though. Don't know exactly how consistent that'll be. In my opinion, and I don't know how you feel about this, to me, it's either VJ or Jaylen Brown is going to be looked at to be the POA defensively. You probably lean Jaylen Brown more, but I feel like Jaylen Brown will be more so the POA on like wings more than guards. I think VJ is going to probably have to guard guards more. And then that takes us to Joel Embiid. There's been a lot of discourse about who Joel Embiid is on defense. I personally feel like at his apex, Joel Embiid was a very good defensive player. Like, I don't really understand the whole hoopla about how bad he is on defense. Now, I will say this: coming back from injury, this version of Joel I've seen be more compromised on defense than before. I think in the Knicks overall series, they just had so much space and he could barely move out there. So I don't think he was good. But I don't think that's who Joel Embiid is. I think fundamentally, as a rim protector, he adds more value to defenses more times than not. I just think he has to realize that again. That's my opinion on it, at least there. I don't know how you feel about that.
So realize it again. So is that saying that he hasn't done it like last season?
No, I think he had moments last season. I think specifically in the playoffs versus Boston, he figured it out. I think versus the Knicks, he didn't play good defense, in my opinion. I think he was getting fried a lot in that series. So, like,
Okay.
It's hit or miss. I still think, like, the fully realized version where, like, he's actually healthy and not having to basically linger. Because, again, he wasn't healthy in the playoffs. So, like, I do look at that kind of differently. But I do feel like a healthy Joel Embiid is a good defender. I do believe that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think even with what he dealt with last year, and again, the playoffs was a freak thing, really not an injury. It was another random medical issue, added to the list. I think Embiid is still a overall good defender. I think what bothers me when it comes to like defender talks is we are living in a world in the NBA where there's more versatility than ever before. We're seeing multiple guys presently in the league that can guard 1 through 5. That guys that can switch, so many defenses are just switch everything. So you're seeing a lot of positional versatility, and Embiid cannot do that. Full stop, agreed. He's 270 pounds on a good day, 285 more often than not. Him switching out to any guard in the league, probably not going to go that well. But I could say that about 90% of the centers that currently occupy this association. So I don't really care about a guy getting fried that I expect to get fried on the perimeter. What I care about and what matters come playoff time is rim deterrence and ending possessions. Embiid in the former is still very, very good at that. He is still a fantastic rim deterrent. And I think even in the Knicks series, I think he was effective at doing that. I think he just went against a really good counter in Jalen Brunson, who doesn't have to get to the basket to be successful. He can live in the mid-range, and obviously when the 3 ball is going, there's not much a team can do. I think for the latter, as far as rebounding, Embiid definitely is not the same rebounder he once was. I would argue part of that is scheme, but at the end of the day, his agility is certainly not the same that it once was. So that rebounding definitely has come down. I think, though, the counter now to say about what this team can do defensively is you did improve in those spots at rebounding. Jaylen Brown and LeBron James, for their positions, are plus rebounders. LeBron even still. Yes, he's 42. I don't expect him to be averaging 7.5, 8 boards, but a very comfortable 5 to 6 and understanding where to be on the floor is an improvement as far as I'm concerned. And then JB is still a very good athlete. I expect, 6 to 7 rebounds himself. So that, I think, surrounding Embiid with more consistent athleticism, and then obviously, hopefully, the team IQ in general improves. That's fine. And then, as like it was said, like VJ's a good rebounder, despite being under 6'6" himself. So I think that's going to help this team defensively a lot. And then it's just a matter of like consistent buy-in. As long as you're not mailing it in, because we know LeBron coasts through the regular season, especially on defense. We expect that. Embiid shouldn't be playing high minutes. So like if he does a game, that could get worse. And then JB, it's like, he is entered or at least had superstar title last season, MVP candidate, that whole thing. Is he going to be committed to the defensive end the entire time? There might be some games where he's not. Those are only my concerns. I think Maxey with more off-ball reps should improve as a defender. Having that usage style back means he can invest a little more defensively. For him, he's basically what you want out of small guards defensively.
Right.
Or, like offensively slanted offensive guards. What I want them defensively. Good hands, high enough motor, get in the passing lanes. You're not going to D up. You're not going to lock up your opponent very much. That's fine. I'm not expecting you to. Just be like what Steph does in Golden State. I mean, literally pick a small guard in the past 25 years. Their bright side defensively is usually their hands and getting steals. Get a couple of those, we're fine. I don't like, you know what I mean? Like, if you get fried by another great guard on the other end, that'll happen. Just try to make it tough for them. So defensively, this team was league average with PG missing a huge chunk of time, with Embiid missing a huge chunk of time. If you can finish like top 15, top 20 at their worst with that last season, then top 15 should be the expectation this season defensively.
Yeah. Okay. So this is my point, right? While there's question marks about this team, the thing that I feel like should not be a question mark is not the defense itself per se, but the effort these players are giving on defense. Because you could buy at times, okay, Jaylen Brown isn't as good of a defender because there's so much he has to do offensively. Okay, Joel Embiid, like there's so much talent offensively. All five members should be doing their part defensively. To me, there really isn't much of an excuse for that. Especially because, again, like you're going to get the proper time to rest during the game, during the season, because again, you have a multitude of like different lineups you can trot out there to try and hold up. Also, the rebounding. Let's talk about this. For years, and I want to say this again, for multiple years, I feel like one of the biggest issues with the Sixers has been rebounding. If you go to the Knicks series, not from last year, from a couple years ago, dead ass, they were in almost all of those games. And it came down to some last second possessions where they could not box out, they could not get the rebound, and the Knicks were just hitting miraculous threes off these boards. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have the rebound rate advanced analytic numbers with like LeBron on the floor, whatever, but watching LeBron James, he rebounds. Like for his career, he's a 27, 8-8 guy. Pretty sure last year he might have averaged maybe 6. I know LeBron can give efforts at rebounding. VJ Edgecombe might not have high rebound numbers, but he was damn near at times a guy that any night could explode for 9 rebounds and get a near triple-double. Like he had moments like that last year. He can crash offensive glass pretty good too. Tyrese Maxey, another guy that sneakily can get his rebounds up at times here or there. Same thing can be said for Jaylen Brown. The only thing I'm arguing, because I'm not even going to say this will be a fantastic rebounding team. I'm saying it will be better than before is my biggest thing. Because at the 4th spot, that's been your biggest hole. And you're filling that with, I think, LeBron James. Now, granted, I don't think Dean Wade really rebounds crazy like that. But again, he's off the bench and he's more so going to be a offensive specialist for this unit more than defense. But he can be all right on defense too, so that's fine. Jaylen Brown, I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound like hate, but this is just how I feel. I think Jaylen Brown gets extremely overrated on defense. I do believe that. However, just because you get overrated does not mean you're not good. He is a good defensive player. I think he showed a lot of moments where he can be a fantastic POA defender. My problem with Jaylen Brown sometimes is he might over leverage himself on defense. Like it was a lot of moments where like you're trying to guard Joel Embiid to say you got this, you don't have this, you don't need to do that. Or he loses his man off the ball sometimes. That is a thing that happened. How would you you know what? This is perfect. How would you evaluate Jaylen Brown's defense in the series y'all just played this year?
Sure. Before I say that, I do want to say in regards to Dean Wade, to put a little respect on him, he statistically is a very good perimeter defender. And for second units will be our best POA. So, you know, it's like how that works with the whole scheme, we'll have to wait and see. I think Dean Wade with JB and Embiid on the floor is, I think, really could be where our defense shines the most, because having guys, and then obviously throw Edgecombe in there, multiple guys that can switch, stay attached to their guy with some positional size that, like, you know, keeping Embiid in the paint defensively is where you're going to shine. So I just want to throw that out there real quick, that like that is a plus. As far as what JB did defensively, I think in the playoffs, It wasn't terrific from Brown, but I think he was playing a little different defensively in the playoffs than he had in series previous. Obviously, going back to the championship team the Celtics had, JB was their like big wing crash pester ball handler POA for much of that playoff run and much of the regular season. And a big reason why they could do that is because that defensive personnel was so good. Having D. White and Drew be your guard defenders on the court pretty often, basically denying passes and safety valves, allow JB to be an absolute harassment for whoever had the ball in front of him. Obviously, last season with that offensive usage creeping up, like we talked about, that defense was not the same. Totally agree as far as the off-ball stuff. He will fall asleep totally, even still, which is scary. But I think he can do something similar this season as far as like you can get to be that aggressive guy as long as we have that IQ behind us. So as long as Maxey doesn't fall asleep, he can stay attached. VJ, I think, is a plus defender. I think he can do, like, again, not comparing him to these players, but what Boston had as far as Drew and D. White, that role could be filled by VJ. Not the same level. Not calling VJ all defense yet, but that kind of job. The big thing I think that matters for me defensively to allow JB to be successful like he once was, it's LeBron and Embiid backline. Can LeBron be the communicator that we know that he can be, but still be active enough to move and not just yell things? Can he move as well as talk? And then Embiid obviously get in position to deny at the rim. If those things can happen, then JB can once again be a successful defender. If we are too slow, then yeah, he could get barbecued and we have to like kind of rework how his defensive role would be. But overall, I think like neutral defender is very much the expectation for JB.
Yeah, and I don't like, I won't say he can't be better. I don't see why. Like, he's still young. He's not an older player, and
I mean, he's 30.
Well,
I won't call him young.
Well,
you wouldn't call me young. So like,
like I'm saying, like, in the scope of like you're coming
he's not 42.
off of.
I'll say that he ain't 42.
Yes,
so,
yes,
yeah.
He's not like super old. Is like the main point I'm saying. But like even beyond that, I also think like in terms of like wear and tear, it does help that he went home first round and didn't have like a super late.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So more time to like rest and like heal up. So that's cool. The thing I like about VJ Edgecombe though is like it's just he's a definition of effort. Like most of his rookie season was predicated on effort, timing, and overall IQ. And he has some really good spots. Like he's a guy that he might get beat off the dribble sometimes, but he's athletic enough to where he can recover and block the shots. Tyrese Maxey very sneakily had a lot of moments where he could also do that. So to me, that's good. But again, I could not agree with you more. This defense comes down to the backline defense, like how LeBron James and how Joel Embiid communicate and hold that up. To me, LeBron has shown in the past he can be a free safety-esque type of defensive player. He's shown he can do that. He's still a crazy athlete at 42 years old. I don't know how the hell that's possible. They gave him too much vibranium. Sums up with that, right? But he can still do that. To me, it very much does come down to, I think, mobility. The thing LeBron gives you, though, that a lot of people aren't talking about as much is like LeBron can still be a very good post defender. And I think there's real value to that. We saw a couple years ago in the Olympics, LeBron was guarding Jokic. Like he was doing that. You know what I'm saying? So like he does give you that physicality that was missing at the 4 spot that I feel like you kind of needed. He's not a thin 4. He's a real body 4. Like that's just what makes sense. So to me, that's what I feel like adds into the melting pot of like defensive personnel you have. I do project Philadelphia to have a top 15 defense. I don't know exactly where it'll fall in that range. My thing is you just want a good enough defense to hold up, and you're hoping that your offense is what brings you through because you have the most offensive talent you've had for some time now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the days of you need a like top one defense are kind of gone for the most part. Um, I think you need to be like top 10 border, but if you have an elite offense, like the Knicks last season,
Yeah,
were top five offense basically the entire season, and defense fluctuated between top five. Sometimes, like I think they had like a month and a half stretch, they were like top four, and then for like most of the season, they were like top 7 to 10. And I think they
exactly.
finished around there. So if you can do that, you're pretty much set. And I think this group very much could do that. A lot of question marks defensively come off the bench aside from Dean Wade. And then for Bona, it's like Bona could be guaranteed, the backup 5 minutes if the IQ improves and he doesn't have bricks for hands. Like that's really all it comes down to. Can you catch a lob? Can you not drop the ball? And can you not foul? If you can do those three things,
Can you not foul is my biggest thing because my God, he had a lot of fouls last year.
right. A big reason why we were top five in blocks last season is because of Bona. So that high energy stuff,
Yeah,
like hype momentum plays, he's still good for, and that's great. I just need like he can't jump on everything. It's the IQ stuff that we say all the time, and it goes for all levels. You can be the 15th man on a roster. You can be the number one guy. We see guys jump on pump fakes every single like
it happens
game.
all the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
it's just like hopefully another year with some improvement and whatnot. That's the expectation. So if we can get that, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, this team, like, I guess okay. So the question I do want to ask, because I also saw it in the chat, but I've been thinking this because I was
Okay.
in his Twitter space the other day.
Mm-hmm.
The definition of a super team, I feel like changes all the time. Is this like is this a super team? I'm just going to ask that question. Is
Okay.
this a super team in your eyes?
Okay. So like I will say this, right? The definition of super team changes a lot, right? This is something I definitely agree with. Here's my problem with this, right? My definition is skewed because obviously I'm a Warriors fan. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, clear definition that was a super team. However, that's arguably like the best team of all time. So like that's even a step above what a traditional super team would be. I think another example of I think super team probably like 80 Celtics or some bullshit like that. Like
That's
all
where
the
my mind
talent they
went
had.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of that, like some people would tell you the 2016 Cavs are technically a super team. I don't think I would
Yeah, I
say
love
that
that. Yeah.
for that team, right? So how I look at this, LeBron James is still a very good ass player. I think people will disagree on where he is. I think he's capable at any time of playing like a top 10 player. I don't think he's any worse than 20. I would argue he can play like a top 5 player on like a random night. It's possible, right? I think he's somewhere in the 10 to 15 range as player. Is that fair to
Like
say?
that's high. I'm the reputation LeBron has, I get it. And like so that by itself isn't crazy, but him as a producer, I mean, sure, does he have the potential for a top 10 night?
That's all
Any
I
given
mean.
night.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like, but I feel like then 100 players have the potential. Like there
I mean,
to
that's also
have
fair to say. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
that's not even an exaggeration. I think there's a legitimate case. There's minimum 80 players that could be best in the league for a night. As far as just like they have skills, they could go like get hot. You know, yeah, I feel like the days of LeBron top 10, no. That dream is long gone. I don't even think he's top 20 right now.
And by the way, chat, this is great because every off season as we get closer to the season, we do for the locker room our tier list of players at positions. That's gonna be super fun this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I just haven't thought of players rankings, so like I don't really know exactly where LeBron would rank. I do think
Yeah,
last year,
just
you know,
I would just say because you don't have to put a number on it. I agree. Like
okay,
the number thing is way too hard to do in your head, and so many things have to happen. Like just caliber, right? Like
okay,
top 10 caliber, we know what that means. All NBA extends it to like another tier. Like MVP,
yeah,
top 10, all NBA, all star, and then like you throw your little calibers. Like bona fide all star to me says guaranteed like top 30. All star caliber adds like another 10 to 15 players there,
right,
and then starter level, etc. I think LeBron right now should be comfortably all star caliber, is
okay.
what I would presume going into next season. So is he going to play like a top 30 player in the league? I'm going to say probably not. I mean, he'll still be mad important for this team's success, but no, I can pretty comfortably say there's going to be 30 players better than him next season. So I would say all-star caliber. So put
Okay.
him in like the 40, 50-ish thing.
See, okay, so like I struggle with this because watching LeBron James last year, he was hurt to begin the year, and then
Yeah.
he was asked to begin, in my opinion, and then like right before Luka picked it up, he picked it up, and then it was kind of hard because I felt like his productivity he was the third option next to LeBron and Reeves, and that's kind of what it was. But then after Reeves went
Yeah,
down,
Luke and Reeves. Yeah.
he was hooping at like a very high level. So like it's hard for me to like be honest about where I feel like he is. I feel like I'm fine to say there's 15 players better than LeBron, but there's a very real situation where I could see LeBron outperforming Jaylen Brown in the playoffs. Like I wouldn't be surprised by
Sure.
that.
Yeah, I think if you minimize it to playoffs, that's different. I think because like the importance of LeBron in the playoffs with like ball handling duties, right, and decision
Yeah.
making, that's something that we would expect him to have more of than JB necessarily. So
Right.
that would change how you would rate him. And yeah, I agree. Like LeBron, this is LeBron's past season was the first time he ever was a tertiary player, ever in his career. So I think that was definitely an adjustment period and is different. However, even with the on-ball usage, you can make the case he'll be tertiary again this year. Just between the usage of Maxey, Embiid, and JB, there's a good chance, like LeBron, like yes, he'll be maybe initiating offense, starting possessions, but may not have like for the whole season that usage. So, again, the potential for him to go off at any time and be all NBA at like importance. Yeah. As far as like actual player, I think all star is like the highest I'd go. All star caliber is where I'm much more comfortable putting him. I think that it's the rest of the cast, and then that's when you need to start thinking like, what do you call the rest of these teams?
Right.
But like Maxey was literally all NBA last year. Second team, which is technically top 10 player. I'm not calling Maxey a top 10 player, but all NBA caliber, that's where he's at. I think he is in that 15 to 20 range. So I'd put him like top 20 is where I think Maxey ultimately falls. Jaylen Brown, I do the exact same thing. Technically MVP candidate last year. I'm not going to say he didn't deserve a vote for anything, but I'm more comfortable NBA caliber. So that's two top 20 guys right there. Yeah. Joel Embiid, he is objectively the hardest player to rank in the entire association.
Very hard to rank Joel Embiid. Yeah, right.
I'm assuming we're getting 50 games out of Joel this year. That my assumption is between the stagger, the improvement post surgery, overall knock on wood health going into the season. I think I'm getting 50 games. So whatever awards are non-existent, but as far as what he can produce, I think all-star flatline is what I expect. So right now I'm looking at two all-NBA caliber players, an all-star player, all-star caliber player, and then VJ is the question mark. I think VJ is like a safe, very good starter caliber, which would put him like top 75.
Right.
So I think that's fair. And then so if I just said that, and then you add the bench, objectively good bench, I don't know, top 10 bench maybe. That's hard to say. Like
I mean, well, you got Dean Wade, Dominic Barlow, Bona,
Anthony Simons.
Anthony Simons is there, which like I'm very curious about Anthony Simons, by the way, because I feel like in Boston he was kind of up and down, very shaky, and I still don't like his defense. But the shooting is real.
Defense,
I don't hate having the shooting off the bench.
No, and then I mean KCP is a huge question mark. If you got KCP from 2.5 years ago, then that's actually a threat to me. Like that's still like 3-and-D, like very good value off the bench.
I forgot bro's name, but he was my favorite player off your bench last year. I thought about him way more than I probably should have. I think Justin Jefferson. Oh no,
Justin Edwards.
I love Justin Edwards. He had some moments. He had some moments last year.
Yeah, he got to play legit 60 games. Would average about 15 minutes a night. He's a cool shooter. With as we all have these players, it's like there's hope. There's more creation there. That's pretty much where he's at. But like decent positional size. He's cool. I don't know what his role is this year because of KCP and Dean Wade. I think are going to dominate forward minutes off the bench. So I don't know where he fits, but maybe he's a better shooter than KCP at this stage. So then I would hope guarantee his minutes if that's what it is. But it's a cool bench. Let's just say top 15 bench just to be safe.
Okay.
Is a top 15 bench plus 2 All-NBA players plus 2 All-Stars a super team?
Oh man.
If you really just boil it down to like that, is that a super team?
Here's my thing though, like if you say super team in my brain, I have to really like think, am I scared to death of the Sixers? Because most teams that are labeled super teams is a team you feel like just can't really be beaten. Like they
I don't know. I think those are two different things, Gifted. I think those are two different things. Because your answer should be, I'm not scared of the Sixers, which is valid because I wouldn't be scared of them either.
Okay.
If it were me, I wouldn't be. If I'm Boston, I'm not scared. If I'm the Knicks, I'm not scared. If I need to talk to some Indiana people because I think the majority are like super excited.
Indiana getting really, really like no one's talking about Indiana.
I love them coming in this year, but I also feel like there's a couple people that might not have it. I might have to like hit up Caitlin Cooper or something. Like
right.
They shouldn't really be scared of the Sixers. Again, like walking in, I feel like those teams should feel okay. So by that logic, I would say they're not a super team because I don't think you're scared. Okay. But do they meet the qualifications of a super team? Because I was told in a Twitter space, take that for what it's worth, that they are a super team.
Okay. So, oh, and by the way, JD, appreciate the gifted clutch. I don't know what that means, but WJD. So, okay, here's what I'm gonna tell you, right? It's very funny because I remember this conversation about OKC when they added Melo. Because it's like on paper, right? No, right?
Oh, man.
Like on paper, Russ just won the MVP. Paul George is an all-star. Carmelo was an all-star in like New York, but like very much on like the decline. So on paper, people called that team a super team. I didn't feel like that was a real super team. What are some other examples I could think of tangibly in my brain in the modern era?
I've seen a lot of people compare this to the Nets team, and I struggle to see any resemblance.
What? Wait, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the thing I see is and maybe it's because it's what could be like. When Blake Griffin was there, people were like, "Oh, this could be like a good Blake on top of KD, Harden, Kyrie." But even that, like, even if I pretended like Blake was like whatever, like if it was like not Detroit Blake, not that first season because that player was nice, but like the season after,
he was hooping.
Like I don't know, even if I just don't see it. I think it's a horrendous comp. I don't know. I don't want to be like. Because I see JD in the chat, don't duck expectations, which is fine. That's not a crazy thing. Not a crazy thing to put on me. But I don't think it's ducking to say this isn't a super team.
Yeah. So like, okay, here's my problem with this, right? We don't have a definite formula that objectively defines what a super team exactly is. People have different definitions, and that's how we do it. But I feel like one common thing that reeks true of all super teams is there's something definite about what makes them a super team. When you look at, I think Golden State, the offensive blend of Steph, Clay, KD, like their top 5 in defense and offense, that was a real super team, right? I think with like the 80s, I think Celtics is just the sheer talent they had compared, I think, to the rest of the league. That was a super team. Are the Lakers a super team in like 01? And a super team with
Probably
you?
not by definition, but like in the moment, I would say if, granted, I wasn't like actively conversing hoops in '01, but if I was living in the moment, I would say no. I think in hindsight, if I said the best duo to ever play the game, like together
Yeah.
played, people would say yes, because Shaq and Kobe were both like top 5. So
Okay.
in hindsight, I feel like we might, but I feel like in the moment, no.
Are the Bulls a super team?
I'd have a tough, I would say closer, because
Okay.
if MJ's best in the world, Scotty's top 10 at worst. Dennis is an all-star. And then you got like just really good defenders and competency around that. That's closer. Like that 72-10 team, 96, like that's probably a super team.
Right, but then I feel like by that logic, if that's a super team, I think the Lakers are like pretty much right there based on talent. See, my problem with this conversation, right, is that the other way you can say what an actual team is based off the depth. Like, I think a good example of a super team based on depth would be probably the 14 San Antonio Spurs. Like, they just had multiple guys who could kill you, but like, obviously people aren't going to call that a super team because it's not like big three players, but like the team as a whole was just crazy. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, the fit was so fantastic. Like, I was just thinking about the two teams in recent history that pop up. Most recently being that Boston Celtics championship team. Like, I can give them the title of the best 3-and-D team ever. Like, right. I think that the 3-point volume and just collective defense, that is the best combination of those two attributes together ever.
Right.
And then the other team I think is the Toronto Raptors. That is one of the best defensive teams, period, end of story.
Definitely.
In NBA history. Yeah. And then you have a 1A in Kawhi who, I mean, what? Like minimum top 5 player for that year?
Yeah.
I think that's like it's the run. Like I think top 5 is fine. So like top 5 player with, I would make the case top 10 defense ever.
Okay.
Maybe that's recency bias. Maybe I need to sit down. But I feel like I can comfortably make that case top 10 defense ever. Like, is that a super team? Like, I don't know. But ultimately, I think I'm fine with saying Philly's not a super team coming into the season. I do think going back to that, talking about them as a whole, they are championship or bust. Anything short of a championship period is a bust this season.
Right.
And I don't think there's a lot of teams that can say that coming into this year where their season is a failure without a championship. I think Philly is one of those teams.
I guess what I would say, and you can let me know how fair this is, I don't think Philadelphia is a super team. I think their ceiling is that of a super team. Like if everything pans out the way that it can, like here, right? This is a long shot for sure, but let's say this is the healthiest season we see out of, I would say, Joel Embiid, and he gets back to like, oh, he's averaging more points than like minutes he's playing, and they're like the 1 seed on some crazy, right? Like if the full ceiling of the team reaches everything, they would be a super team by that criteria. However, super teams normally are, I think, defined by what they do and their floor. Like the floor of this team could be really bad, right? Like, so that's why I wouldn't say super team personally, but that's valid to think,
I think I just want to get the narratives, ahead of ourselves, so I know what to expect coming into this season.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, listen, I will say having LeBron James on the team and having 4 players that are undoubtedly like all-star caliber players is probably why people are going to say you are a super team. And like, I think people also think that even though VJ might not be all-star, he can play like one.
Sure. Night to night
basis. Yeah. So that's probably why they would say that, but like, I don't like, so, okay. What's the floor of this team? I think that's a great question in chat. Like, what's the floor of this team if you had to say if everything wasn't so peachy?
I think top 6 seed. in the East is definitely a floor. Like regular season with the Sixers has always been a test, obviously, because of Joel's health. When you add
Yeah.
a 42-year-old player into that, a player who should be expected to miss some time, despite LeBron's like vibranium self, he should be expected to miss time. So I mean, look, you take two starters out of any team, that should decrease your win total. When you can make the case that those are possibly the first and you could argue third most important player on the team this season, that's a big deal. So the floor would be, I think, a 6 seed. But if, knock on wood again, we just take the expectation of health. I mean, that's still Maxey, that's still JB, that's still Edgecombe. Those are 3 70-game players. That should be able to keep you in the hunt in even a competitive Eastern Conference. So I think like 6 is the floor for this team. I mean, it could bottom out, obviously, like it could for anybody. But if like, I don't know, yeah, missing the playoffs, it's like anybody, you could if it all went to shit, but I don't know. I think I'm comfortable with like bottom 6.
Okay. In chat, I'm seeing people say they think this team could be the best offense in the NBA.
I mean, could.
Okay, that's possible. For some reason, I think it's more so going to be the Pacers. Honestly, a sleeper team for best offense could be the Lakers because they just have offense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they invested in it. I mean, if Walker Kessler can take the leap that Rob Pelinka seems to think he can, that is a nasty 3-headed monster. Because not that Kessler is an amazing offensive player, but he could be with Luka the best play finisher.
And he showed in them 7 games before he went down for the entire year for Utah. That shooting was
that shooting. 7 games of shooting.
7 games.
Yeah, that absolutely could be a nasty trio offensively.
I think Boston is also like a really crazy offense as well because they just added even more shooting. Like I think Paul George is just a functional better shooter than Jaylen Brown, and I don't want to get into like the nerd stuff of like, well, technically Boston was better without Jaylen Brown in the lineup and this and that, but I just know that like Paul George is a better connective glue than Jaylen Brown. And they have buku shooting, so they're going to probably be like a very high-ranked offense as well this year.
I think 2, quote-unquote sneaky teams offensively. OKC, I think there is a world where, really hoping J-Dub gets back to his self like, a season and a half, 2 seasons ago, because I think that's just a much better player than I think he was this year. But also could be like, legit 22 a game, 23 a game. I think that's completely possible still. Chet improvement, maybe not crazy. So I think there's a world where that offensive like collection looks better. It's not because we talked about it, right? Like I thought this season would be, if OKC was going to go back to the chip and potentially win, it would be Shea dropping from 30 points a game. But everybody else taking a step up in usage and like scoring. So I think that's a team. And then obviously I think Minnesota. I mean, the addition of LaMelo.
Oh yeah, Minnesota's a great shout. Absolutely.
Like J-Mac showed me something last playoffs. I really hope it can transfer to the regular season because there's a world he is a like this. Maybe it's a crazy title to throw on him, but a top 10 two-way player. I really think that offensive potential is there, and I still obviously know what he is defensively.
I mean, that's why they got rid of Randall to me.
Yeah, I mean, and no Nas. So I think J-Mac's role, offensively has to step up as well. Rudy still has the hands of a stonemason, but like, if there's ever a player to get more out of him offensively, it would be LaMelo.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think LaMelo and Ant just themselves, shoot, that's a nasty offense on a night-to-night basis. So those are 2 I would look out for. But Philly, I'm saying top 10 offense to be safe, but top 5 is totally possible if people can play games.
I cannot wait until we bring back the locker room because these tier lists are going to be fun. I think we should do one on top 10 offenses, top 10 defenses, and then team like the seeding and like this is my
seeding is
point.
impossible.
Yeah,
let me just say seeding is impossible.
It's impossible this year, especially in the Eastern Conference, because I can literally name all the teams right now, Derek, like including Philadelphia right now. And like I've been saying this before he signed, by the way. So this is not a new take for me, Chad. This is a real take here. Legitimately, in the Eastern Conference, I think the East is a better conference top to bottom than the West. I'm on that this season. I mean, you literally have the Pistons, who were the 1 seed last year, the Celtics, who were the 2 seed, the Knicks at the 3 seed, Cavs, Raptors, Hawks, Sixers. Orlando Magic just got a brand new coach, so maybe they could look insane because they have talent. Charlotte, ironically, is a team that a lot of people are just expecting to be shit because they traded LaMelo, and I understand that perspective. But technically speaking, they added Naz Reid, who's pretty good with size. Khan is still a very elite shooter. I think Brandon Miller could take a leap with like LaMelo being competent. Like that could be a team that is a sleeper playing type of team. No one is talking about the Heat, who literally added Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like that's going to be insane. And
Atlanta
has
should be
pieces.
Good.
Atlanta has real pieces to me. Obviously, Tyrese Halliburton is a fantastic offensive player. He's back now, so that team
did all that without saying Pacers. That's 12 teams.
No. And then and listen, you're gonna big sleep on this. I'm gonna look dead in the camera when I say this. Crazy. Okay?
I know you're about to say, yeah.
I don't think you do. Listen, this head coach is a good coach, okay? They have no incentive to lose. The Brooklyn Nets are going to surprise people. I'm not saying they're going to be like a high seed. I'm saying in the sense of like being more manageable to win games in the regular season, that's going to become a thing. I do think Julius Randle, as faulty of a player as he is, as a regular season merchant, can be pretty solid. Like, I think Mikhail Brown. I like the growth of maybe Igor Demon. Like, they're going to be a team that, like, you look on the schedule and you say, that's going to be an ass team. And they're going to wind up winning games they shouldn't win. But
they did that last year. You picked the wrong bottom feeder East team, man, because there's a team that added, like, 2 all-star caliber players, and like they're gonna grow. One of them gets to actually have like real size next to him and be a better center. Could even flirt, dare I say, with I can't go top 10, but like top 12 this season potentially at his position. But the Wizards, man, the Wizards are the team to watch out for this year.
Oh, that's the problem. I don't think they're going to be a bottom feeder team this year.
No, I'm saying, but that's the next team. Okay, I'm saying Brooklyn's bottom feeder. Brooklyn's going to try for 20 games like they did this year. They're probably going to be like 11-9, and they're like, oh, that's cool. And then their owner realizes, we're actually ass, so we're going to shop at the deadline, get our picks, and hope we get the real number one. Respect to everyone you just said, sort of, but like they're not ready to compete.
That's fair. That's fair. So, that's fair.
That's not the team. The Wizards, though. Whether they like it or not,
is a lot low key.
Have to try. Alex Sarr and AD could be an actually demonic like backline on defense. They could be fantastic. Trey literally gets to throw everywhere on the court. He might still sink, but he can still pass.
This is the Trae Young revenge season, bro. I pray to God it is, because it's like, listen, Anthony Davis is the best beneficiary Trae Young will ever have in his life. As like, AD and more.
Can we? I mean, we don't have to actually talk about it, but I do want to talk about it at some point.
Yeah,
AD,
sure.
Rank the passers that he's played with, because he is now he's
Bron,
now going to have Trae Young.
Yeah,
like is this the best lob thrower he's ever had in Trae Young? Like. So he could, AD could absolutely eat. I think Sarr is going to eat because of Trae Young and Anthony Davis for what, like, his 2 faults. It's Sarr doesn't have like a real go-to offensive game yet. Trae is going to help with that. Defensively, it's Sarr's rebounding and getting bullied. Whether AD likes it, he gets to do that, and Sarr gets to be a real center.
Absolutely,
that's going to be good. I do want to say to JD, as far as Chicago is going to be a lot of fun.
Chicago too, but it's just like the winning part. I don't know.
Yeah, they're just simply not going to be able to win games. Caleb is
He's a dog.
Caleb was my favorite player coming out of the draft as far as like if I was forced to just pick a player to compete this year, he would have been that player. Because of he's a dog. I think he's got the best defensive upside in the draft. All those things. He unfortunately is not going to have the offensive game, despite what Summer League says. And his team's just not going to be able to win. But they're going to be fun. They're building good stuff over there. Good defensive infrastructure. Shout out to Buzelis. Buzelis might be a dark horse 20 a game score, but they're going to stink.
Yeah.
So I mean, we just ran through 13 teams that will legit try for at least half the season. Another 12 are still going to be trying post deadline, or at least another 10 minimum are going to be trying post deadline. So yeah, the East is exciting, man. And like, I'm going to say your Pistons because whether you've liked it or not, you've sneakily claimed them more than the Warriors the past 2 years.
I got tickets. Yeah.
That team is in such a fascinating situation, going from the 1 seed to they're right back having to hunt and be in this absolute fight every single night. You have an all-NBA player, but like, is there enough around him? Like, I think that's such a crazy spot.
Yeah. Like this is why I'm saying the East is better, because I mentioned the shit teams on purpose. Because even though like they're not gonna win games, they're good enough to win games. Like I'm saying, like you can't just say, okay, they're on the schedule, we're fine. Like
it's a win, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
like I think those teams, like bro, the bottom 3 is probably gonna be Brooklyn, the Bucks, the Bulls, probably, and then after that you have teams that like are legitimately better than what their seed's gonna say. And then obviously health, I think, will dictate the best of this. So East is very much a bloodbath. And that's my point, though. So like, I think the Sixers making the move to get LeBron James and get Jaylen Brown is to be a better overall regular season team. And that comes down to optionality. That comes down to different ways you can play on a night-to-night basis. And that's what I think the Sixers have. Now, how that's going to pan out in the playoffs, I don't know. Because I cannot wait, and I will love to get your take on it. Because again, we are starting the series soon, Derek, where we are going to be rewatching these playoffs. I cannot wait to see the Knicks versus the Sixers. Most people are saying Boston. I'm going to be honest, I don't care about Jaylen Brown and Tatum. I think this is a lot bigger than them at this point. I don't know. The Knicks move me more because they actually won the championship. And I think matchup-wise, that's just been a long-time rivalry between the Sixers and also New York. I want to see that. I want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for, where was I just at? Where we're talking about, like, rivalries are kind of dead in the league right now. I think with this, it's so tough because the big thing, the reason why rivalries died, or a bunch of reasons, but one of them is player movement.
Yes.
But I think the fact that these teams there's just so much talent and teams keep building and building and building, like this could be a way to sort of get them back in. But you have these huge markets. And the fact that Boston, New York, and Philly get to all be good at the same time is a huge help. I think the Knicks obviously were kind of stuck, in a lot of ways, like Philly, just kind of being mediocre or ass depending on the season. So we were never really like in it like we should have been. Boston obviously had like 2 decades worth of success, but they needed more help, to be relevant. Respect to Cleveland, blue collar town, very similar in demeanor to a lot of these other Eastern teams, but not the same market. So I think the fact that the 3 of us are like in it, like actually competitive, is huge. Yeah. And then obviously, Braun being one of them is still one of the faces in all of sports. So yeah, man, it's gonna be crazy competitive. The Knicks are a super deep team as well. It's just crazy how much we matched up okay. The fact that we matched up okay with them this playoffs, obviously they still had us pretty handedly. But we added some serious talent, added some serious names, but also some things that actually address the needs in that particular series. That's what's so huge. It's it's so rare that you can do all of those things in one off season.
Yeah, and like I do think Boston, like, it's funny because yes, Boston traded the better player, but Boston is still going to be very, very good. So like seeing how that works makes sense. I just don't view Boston in that same tier of contender anymore because their offense is going to still be crazy. They're still going to be a threatening team. But I legitimately feel like the front court stuff, like, now granted, Mitchell Robinson can change a lot of shit for Boston. But at the end of the day, my problem I have with Mitch is like knowing you employ a big that we know we're gonna foul because he can't make free throws, and that's like I'm not even asking Mitch to be a positive offensive player. You literally just cannot shoot free throws, and that limits how productive you can be. Like the front court situation in Boston is still a thing that you kind of question, and more importantly, they still haven't gone away from their Chat GPT offense where they just shoot a bunch of threes and they don't really drive to the basket. And your best like driver you traded to the Sixers. Like I think the reason why the Sixers have so much potential is you have multiple guys who can beat dudes off of the dribble and get to the paint. The shooting might be here or there every now and then, but like you have guys that also shoot, but you have multiple guys that can drive the basket to the hoop. And normally when you have that, you can win. But styles make fights, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I think has been so good about the playoffs the past few years is that, which is such a crazy talking point that a lot of basketball fans like, or non-existent basketball fans, casuals will be like, every team plays the exact same way. It's just like that's just so simply not true.
Yeah.
And you can see it. You just pick a playoff series, pick a playoff game, watch them. It's not the same thing at all. And it's so matchup dependent, so scheme dependent. Like, what are your counters to this team? Like, I mean, we started off the pod talking about how Brunson was a perfect counter to Embiid's drop coverage and our the Sixers defensive coverage. It's like if you have a mid-range dominant player like a Brunson, like a Shea, that's really hard to counter if you don't have the switchability and the athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's still a talking point to this day. But yeah, it's a tough matchup. Before pod we were talking about how like the Pacers, people think are going to be the kryptonite to the Sixers team, because of what we know they were a couple of years ago. So it's like, I don't even know that they get back to that for certain. Like there were so many question marks, obviously, with that. But in the regular season, we were normally pretty good against Indiana, even back then. And they arguably should be playing slower now with Zoo, but Zoo also adds like better defensive infrastructure in the half court. So it is totally stylish. Like, yeah, styles make fights is the perfect way to put it.
Yeah, nah, man. I think that is a real thing. I guess now that we've talked about the basketball part, it's time to get to the bigger pressures on Philadelphia. So like the other part of why I wasn't sure if LeBron wanted to commit to this team is I was of the mindset that LeBron was going to play 2 more seasons. I said that before he even signed the contract. So I figured he would play 1 season this year and then his last year would be the final year. And in my opinion, I just felt like his final year was going to be in Cleveland. But to be honest, with the ownership being there, he already did them the biggest overall solid you could do after the decision. He went back and brought you a title. Maybe he doesn't want to do that. I think there's a lot of pressure on the Sixers to not just like win, sure, but like you have to look like a stable team to entice LeBron to sign again. And if there's one thing about the Sixers that has been up and down these seasons is are they a competent team? Although I will say you're making the most competent moves we've seen from that franchise in a while, you know?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, man. Like LeBron's 42.
Old as hell. Yeah.
The whole mobility thing, like I don't think he signs this deal without like kind of trusting what he sees. He's got, Bob Myers here. He's got Mike Gansey. He's got, Rich Paul is all over this team, with the clutch clients and everything.
Right.
They know what this building is made of. They know who's running the show. I do think he trusts, the competency a bit more, even if the ownership is diabolical. But, LeBron on a day-to-day probably doesn't have to interact with them, thankfully. And there's just a lot of talent here, man. I think, yeah, like there is a world where it absolutely goes south quickly, between injuries, and communication has definitely been a struggle for Philadelphia, my entire fandom. But I think he knows what he's signing up for. And then look, you get through this season, you're going to be 43. Like, are we going to do this again? Where you're going to because it's a 2-year deal as soon as, it gets finalized, like Walker and Terry got to get cut for this to finally go through. But like, is he going to at 43 be like, okay, get me to Cleveland? Like, I don't think so. Like, I think he knows what it is. I think he's going to play out this year. If he wins a chip, and if Philly wins a chip, I think there's very much the chance he retires right there.
Possible.
Yeah, I think this is it. I think this is it either way you slice it. So I think he is really banking on one chip in this 2-year stretch. And then that's I think if he wins, like, that's the best narrative against Jordan you're ever going to get. So that I think is going to be crazy. But we'll see, man. We'll see. But I think that this is it. That's why I still can't believe. Like, I thought for sure Cleveland, Miami, and then even Golden State made more sense narratively for LeBron to end his career with, because of all the talking points that we did earlier in the pod. So for him to say the last ride's in Philly, okay, I'm down, I'm happy, but this was not my pick for the narrative.
Well, first off, appreciate the sub from, what is it, Antoine? Big salute.
Yeah.
I don't do this enough because, again, this is the first pod. You know what, chat? This is the first Get the Hoops podcast. Ignore all of the other Collins episodes.
That was a whole season. Yeah, there was a whole season worth of pods, so you can't just pretend it doesn't exist. It's on the channel. Yeah. I'll just call it season 1. I don't know. Call this season 2.
You know what? Yeah, cool. This is season 1 or whatever it is. Tune. First off, I appreciate the dono from Tune. He said, "Hey, Derek, that defense finna be Swiss cheese."
I don't see how it's Swiss cheese, man. It might not be great, and then obviously a playoff setting could be different, but it's gonna be league average. Like, last year was when it should have been bad, and we were at our worst top 20. And I don't see it being Swiss cheese.
Yeah, I personally think there's some things they're gonna have to figure out, but I feel like a lot of people are saying that simply because of how they went out in the playoff. Like, listen, I know the Knicks put belt to ass on the Sixers, and it wasn't close of a series, and every game was pretty bad. But that was a banged up team with no depth. I think you had Joel Embiid out there limbering way more in that series than round 1. And also, can we go back to the fact that they beat the Celtics down 3-1? And their defense had to be good enough to get out that series, and that defense wasn't Swiss cheese. That's the thing that matters. Now, I know the counter is going to be, "Oh, Gifted, well, Boston didn't have the bigs to deal with this." But it's listen, at a certain point, this team is going to have a better defense, I think people think. Now, I don't know where it'll be, because that comes down to flat-out execution. I will say this, though. Nick Nurse, I think this is a very important year for Nick Nurse, because he's gotten bail from I think the front office choices and some things he didn't have control on. But there were legit moments in last year's regular season and the year before. I'm like, is he ass? I wasn't sure how to feel too much, because bro, there were so many moments where it's why is no one moving on offense when Maxey or I think Joel have the ball? I just didn't understand,
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest question for Nurse is lineups, lineup question marks, and late game offense. The former, you can chalk a little bit up to lack of depth, PG and Embiid being out of the lineup. That's fine. But Kelly Oubre was routinely closing games when he did not have to.
He was, yeah.
He was. There were times where Oubre didn't have to close, and we found ourselves with Oubre closing. That was definitely a black mark on Nurse's last season. And as far as the late game offense, now look, you're adding 2 very dynamic offensive players to this team with the hopes of also Embiid being healthy. like on paper that should be enough to clean it up. But yeah, it's still a question mark. I would still love to see like a more offensive coordinator, coach be able to come in to help clean some stuff up. But I believe more often than not did lean on the side of Bale for this past season with Nurse. The
Okay.
fact that we did have that 3-1 comeback, obviously, I think was a saving grace for his position.
He might have got fired
Coming to this
if they
season.
lost that series. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there was the chance you missed the offs. I think that could have been it. I think if you lose in the first round badly, like again, we could have lost in 5 games. Like that could have been the job. And it would have been very easy to do so because you're bringing in new talent. But I think they understood like continuity is important. That's something
Right.
that this organization has lacked a ton of. So I like the go-to. I hope there's good communication between coaching and front office with, the new faces there. And just ride out. Like I think, like I said, I think this is the 2-year window. I think if you've got 2 years with LeBron's contract, but I think you realistically have 2 years with JB's contract before like that extension really kicks in. I feel like both parties are going to hold off this year on the extension. I could be wrong,
Okay.
but that's just my thought. Because then again, Embiid is up after 3 years. And so like that's what I mean. Like this is the window. It's really just this year, I think ultimately, but it's 2 years on paper. So
And he could blow this team
we'll
up
see.
after this year.
Yeah,
Like that is
this team,
crazy.
yes, it's very easy to blow this team up. After this season, totally, it'd be much easier to do so. But here's hoping we don't have to.
Yeah. I guess my last thing with this team that I want to know from you is how excited are you to be watching? Because I feel like with you specifically, it's like you try not to talk too much about your team. Like, hey, I like basketball, guys. Let's talk about this like all these other teams, and you kind of just like dread the reality of knowing what the product was going to be. But now this feels like a legitimate resurgence for you.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, I think I've used the actual quote, "cursed with knowledge," watching this team. Like Philadelphia, the fandom at large being so resilient with all their sports teams. This blind confidence that I find so many Philadelphia fans have in all of them. I just have never been able to relate to. I've never been able to be super optimistic about a season if I felt like we clearly were missing pieces or something was amiss. I'm like, no. And the Sixers team has always had something amiss. And I would like to think I've been right about most of it when it's come down the pike. But this team, I think there's just been such a resurgence on all fronts of how
Yeah.
this team is operating. Such an investment is clearly being put into this roster and this season. I think this is the most on the same page everyone's ever been during the time of my fandom, at least. So it's really hard to not be excited about it. And you just know, like, look, this is everything. This is literally pushing all the chips into the middle of the table and being all in. So you kind of, as a fan, have to be the same way. This could be the last ride for multiple parties here. So that's kind of where I'm at. We didn't just roll over, which as a fan, I'm appreciative. I'd rather just go down swinging and see what happens than pushing off and, attempting another tank or process. No one's got the mentality for that right now. So,
Yeah.
I'm ready to go down with the ship, whatever it holds for me.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. I do feel like I have to ask you straight up, do you legitimately think this is a title team that can beat one of the Spurs or OKC? Granted, another team could maybe come out the West, but obviously those are viewed as like the best overall teams. Do you really feel like they can actually beat those teams if it came down to it?
Yes. I do believe this is the deepest roster the Embiid era has ever seen. I think this really has the makings of a championship team. I do think there's enough players with the DNA of, winning, that it can really pull it together. So yeah, I don't know that they're my favorites yet. I need to like sit and think and be like, okay, am I picking to win it all? Should the expectation of championship be there? Yes. They absolutely have all the makings of a championship winner.
I like that. I like that take. And then meanwhile, I'm gonna be the Golden State fan who's just sitting here another
Hey
season.
man, you had a dynasty. like,
Nah, yeah, hey, but
you're at a tough crossroads. We were literally talking about it yesterday, or the day before, about
yeah,
how we are like now kind of changing, going in two different directions now.
yeah, I
Where
like this.
unfortunately you're forced to face the dread of knowing what your team is, and many, around you, including the organization, don't seem to see that. Um, it's not a fun place to be, man, but you're loyal, you got to support. And I don't know, it could get better. It's not over just yet, but yeah, it's a tough spot. It's a tough spot being stuck in the middle.
You know me, man. Like I've been watching basketball since I think 2013 fully. Before 2013, I was encouraged to not watch sports. I was told to just, like I have a dad from Africa, really broken English, and he just felt like if you watch sports, you're not a man. Like he was very traditional about shit. So like I wasn't watching it until I played track. So me personally, like I've gone through a lot of growth in my basketball journey, and I will still be a fan of the team. My problem is that I'm just tired of like the fake, oh, we're trying to compete. Just trade Steph Curry. Like I made a video, Derek, 2 years ago when we didn't get Larry Markkinen. Trade him. It's okay. I'm fine with that because I can go support Steph wherever he's at and like understand, okay, this is the team. We're young, build, like cool. But like having 1 foot in and 1 foot out is killing me, bro. That's why I like what Philadelphia did. No, we're going all in. We're getting Jaylen Brown. We're getting LeBron James. If it don't work, we'll blow this shit up. Cool. Like you made a decision in a path. You don't want to be a team that is like, and we could win. We also could not, but we could though. Like just make a decision is all I ask,
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think ultimately it's not even 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I think Lakeup has 2 feet out and Steph Curry just happens to be in. Like, I mean, that's really what the hope is that you have the remnants of your championship team in Kerr, Curry, and Draymond.
Yeah.
But everything else around it really isn't that. They don't have that pedigree. They really weren't part of those teams. And it's just really tough to abandon ship on it. But sadly, Golden State continues to make this stupendous amount of money, so Lakeup is not going to give up. And that's how Philly was for a while. I mean, Josh Harris is still the owner, still just not a good person, not a person I want running the team or owning the team. And thankfully, you hope you have enough good personnel and people around to make good enough decisions to survive that, despite who is running the team. I mean, hey, Dunleavy had to risk his job, seemingly, according to that one video, to draft Yaxel
Just to
because
draft
Lakeup didn't want
Yaxel,
that. Yeah, because Dunleavy still wants it to be competitive. He still feels like, okay, Yaxel is the talent we want. He may not be the young player of the future kind of thing for post
He's
Steph
our
Curry.
LeBron James replacement. Yeah,
Yeah, it's exactly. If you squint hard enough,
if you just got hard, hey, listen, Len 6'10", dunking shit, hey, could be LeBron.
Exactly. You squint. Hey, the cockback dunks on the fast break. If you squint really hard, you never know. You're gonna feel like you're seeing somebody. You might be seeing 40-year-old LeBron. But yeah, man, it's a crazy turnaround from where we were a year ago, and so it's an exciting place to be. Philly has these real aspirations. It's
I forgot about this player too. There's something about your team we actually didn't talk about. Thoughts on LeBaron Philon and what he could do this season for your team, because like he very much could ironically be like VJ, where it's like you're not sure, but he's got talent, and all of a sudden he's an impact player. Like if he's an impact player, what does that change for your team?
I mean, this is another like potential nurse criticism, is playing young guys, and unfortunately, this team is super deep, so there's a chance he might not see the floor much this year. If you watch Summer League, you'd be really excited about Philon. For anyone out there, like he's been he's been tough to place as far as like a comp. And I didn't watch a ton of him in college. It really wasn't until like the last couple of months that I started watching film on him. He is, just that really crafty, savvy young guard. That's like a real scoring punch, but could turn into more, which I feel like we had a ton of in this particular class. But yeah, I mean, he could be like the spark plug kind of thing on a lot of teams. I think this team is just really tough because I think Nurse is going to pick Simons as, the backup point guard.
Yeah.
Obviously, Maxey and VJ are going to be staggered. And then even when, take one of those guards off the court, put Phylon on potentially, how much is he really going to touch the ball? Because James, Brown, Embiid are going to be, getting a lot of touches. So it's tough. It's tough to foresee what he could be this year. I think it's just like, look, man, if, you have a couple good vets on this team, I think Maxey's a terrific player to learn under. I really hope he's able to, Maxey can take Phylon under his wing. Just be a good rook, man. Try to learn. You've got a sea of knowledge and talent on this team to watch and learn from. And then, I hope you're, in a couple of years when, some of these players are not going to be here, you're part of the crew, part of the core, going forward with VJ and Maxey, who obviously we hope are the core moving forward. So, the expectations this year, it's minimal, but that's not a diss to his talent. It's just how deep this team is and the expectations we have.
Yeah, not fair, man. Listen, all I know is that, like, independent of my team, your team, or whatever, this upcoming season is going to be a blast. I cannot wait to do these tier lists with you where, like, we go through the offenses and defenses. Like, there's a lot of, like, hope for good product for the sport, and I love that. You know what I'm saying? Last year, I think we had a really good playoffs. The first round was, like, one of the best first rounds I've seen in a very long time. We do have to, like, go back and see, like, just how good of a first round that was. So next year's going to be super intriguing for, like, a lot of different teams. I also feel like it's a important inflection point for a lot of teams, man. I mean, the Cavs just paid, I think, Donovan Mitchell the max again.
The fortune.
So, like, are they going to blow it up? Probably not if they just paid him all this money. So that's not going to happen. I'm not going to hold you, bro. The Magic are a team where it's like, this is very much put up or shut up for Paolo to me. Especially after you got, like, a brand new coach in there. Like, one of Paolo or Franz is probably gonna get traded if they don't, I think, make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of teams that are facing, their own inflection points. Magic for sure, one of them. I think, I mean, the Hawks are at a weird stage where it's not so much like, they might not have their number one. So do players have to get moved this season because they're not at their number one? Of course, we got to see what JT looks like full-time post-injury. I think last year it's fine to just kind of toss it away and be like, that really wasn't him. He was ahead of schedule. So, I think this season is my real expectation of what he looks like. And then the Heat, man, like, you finally got your 1A player.
Probably got Giannis.
Finally, you got your haul. You have Giannis, but you sacrificed a lot of depth to get him. Not that was a mistake. I mean, it's worth getting Giannis at the end of the day, but is that enough? Like, that is a team that wants to have deep playoff run, championship expectations. But do they have enough? So yeah, a lot of question marks, for sure, even with, good rosters. So it's going to be fun. I look forward to seeing your future episodes with, your correspondents, on their teams. Because man. Like Indiana, I'm fascinated to hear an Indiana fan describe what they think of this team coming into the season. Everyone's hype. I'm hype about them, but, like,
I'm very hyped to watch them too.
Is Tyrese finally healthy? Like, please. Also they only won 19 games or something last year.
Yeah.
How did they complete? Like, they shouldn't have been. That roster was good enough that it shouldn't have been that bad. Like, was it just a perfect tank job? I don't know. So I'm excited. Yeah, basketball's a few months away, man. So I'm excited.
Yes. Well, in closing, before I get to the personal plugs, I need y'all to go support Derek. He has a Twitter. Derek, I swear to God, though, like this is the biggest
I know,
year
yeah.
your team has had. Not just
Yeah.
dribble in full effect. Talk to me, man. Talk to me. What's good?
Yeah, man. It like, I've got the merch. I gotta sell on top of it. And I really should be sitting down to talk hoops more consistently. Maybe I just gotta do the approach, like you said. You just fire this up, unedited, and just go for broke. That really is the way, because you know how it is. Editing is brutal.
It's a lot.
The work
It
that
is.
goes behind the on-camera stuff can be difficult, but definitely not impossible. So it's carving out the time and sticking with this routine. So I want to get back to it. Just maybe like once a week, get on and like just talk and try to just start there. Because it's a good time, man. It's always a good time when we do it, and so I got to take the investment myself, and do the same. Yeah, and then this is the season to ever do it if there was one.
I mean, listen, I'll say this for clarity, right? As a creator that has been in the space for like, let's say 3 years, my first video was about what teams do I think Ben Simmons should go to 3-4 years
Yeah.
ago. And it's like the growth that like it's hard. I don't think viewers understand like making a video, spending hours on the thumbnail and the title and then putting it out and that shit gets 3 views is very hard. I think
It's
doing a
work,
live stream where you
for
only
sure.
have one person watching is very hard mentally. But like you got to just push through and just post, because 99% of the base who are on YouTube do that, where they post one video and they don't do it. The ones that keep going are the ones who might find some random term or video that pops, and then all of a sudden, Not Just Dribble has a sponsorship with, random shit. Like so like
Yeah.
all that stuff goes. Oh, and I'm sorry, you're a Philadelphia fan. Philadelphia is gonna be a must-watch team this year. So like I can guarantee, just off of like you just posting, you're gonna get random people who are like really follow you, because you know what you're talking about. You follow the team and you like know what you're talking about basketball wise. So definitely tap in with that for sure. I'm on that.
I appreciate it.
I
And
will
yeah,
push it.
if you don't already follow, feel free to follow me on Twitter. Try to stay like semi-active on there. There's only so much social media one should digest on a given day.
It's a tough app
But,
nowadays too. So
Yeah,
get it.
exactly. Yeah, shoot. Even when I post, I feel like I don't even know who's seeing it. Like, shout out to AJ and JD. I know y'all see it sometimes. But yeah, that's pretty much where like thoughts and stuff will be on. And then yeah, like we said up top, I'm pretty here with Gifted pretty often. We're talking hoops, or
Yeah.
we're talking movies, shows. Shoot, whatever. I feel like we're usually chatting about it. So, always a good time. And then yeah, so you'll catch me around. If not here, then there is the next best place.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna do a proper outro for this pod. First off, this is the first Get the Hoops episode of the off season. I will say, it is a very difficult project, guys, to cover all 30 teams. And the hard part about it is not covering the teams. I think that's actually the easiest part. The hardest part is finding 30 different individuals who are grown-ass adults and finding a time to sit down and reaching out to people who don't respond, having to ping them, tag them. I think what I'm going to do different this time, like last time, Derek, I struggled with this for a lot of like the small market teams. What I'm going to do is like, if I don't get a response, I'm just going to do the episode myself, and that's going to be what it is, because we got to get all 30 done. Also, I'm making the shift to do it live because I just think live is a bit more of a overall engaging atmosphere. And also
Sure.
I can chop this up into short form and put that out on the channel as well. So if you can't watch like the full VOD, it'll be out there for you. But this will be available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts at the Gifted Hoops podcast. I'm going to be uploading it through RSS now, which has a free podcast software now. So I no longer have to pay $108 annually for Podbean. That is done. We're free now. So that's cool. And yeah, if there's any like advice or tips you need at all, Derek, again, you got my number. Hit me whenever. I got you on that for sure. But like the video, likes help. Also, I don't know if this applies to live streams, but there's a new feature called the hype feature on YouTube. Definitely hype up the stream. It helps it grow into overall circulation, but definitely videos. If you want more of my personal thoughts on the team outside of this stream, I just posted a video that's doing pretty good based on LeBron going to the Sixers and why it's so bad for Golden State. Go hype up that video. That's there as well. But that's going to be it. Tonight, we'll be back live to play a game called Secret Hitler. Super excited for that stream tonight as well. So tap in there. But in terms of basketball content, expect a lot of piles because again, I got 30 teams we got to get through before the year begins. I'm going to try to cover at least 3 teams before this month of July is over. But Derek, any closing words for the first episode of the Get the Hoops podcast? What's good?
Of season two.
Yeah, season 2.
No, W stream, always good to talk. And look forward to the next one, man. So appreciate it.
Cool. Well, chat, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Have a good one. Make sure to hit the notification bell for streams. I normally try to update people on Twitter. If you don't follow me, I am GiftedHoops_ on Twitter. But don't worry about it because I also post on the YouTube community post as well. Constant updates about videos and streams that are upcoming. I also now have a calendar process, Derek, where I write down everything I'm doing for the entire week. So if you care about those things, stay tuned there. But we'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace out, people. Have a great one. Salute. And that's the end of the stream. All right.